Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited. I'm Nicola Barito. Let's take a look at the headlines. The Prime Minister announces new legislation to make the Caribbean Court of Justice the final appellate court for criminal matters. The Ministry of Legal Affairs moves to protect TNT's intellectual property. And in sport, a boxing bonanza from the Trinidad and Tobago Boxing Board of Control. Thank you for joining us. To our top story. Legislation will be brought to Parliament to remove the British Privy Council as this country's final appellate court in dealing with criminal matters and replace it with the Caribbean Court of Justice. This from the Prime Minister, the Honourable Kamla Prasad Bisasa, who made the announcement in Parliament. Verna Barth has more.
Just over 1 decade after the CCJ headquarters was inaugurated in this country, Trinidad and Tobago's final appellate court was still the Privy Council. However, the Honourable Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisasa is announcing a move to join other Caribbean neighbours in making the Caribbean Court of Justice its final appellate court.
I am very pleased to announce that my government will be bringing legislation to this Honourable House to secure the abolition of appeals to Privy Council in all criminal matters, so that this jurisdiction would then be ceded to the Caribbean Court of Justice.
The Honourable Prime Minister is also revealing that the decision was taken following discussions with several CARICOM heads at a CARICOM Heads of Government conference in Suriname. She says legislation acceding to the criminal appellate jurisdiction of the CCJ will be tabled very similarly to other countries.
My government affirms its commitment to deepening of the regional integration process and the development of a Caribbean jurisprudence, and we view this step as a manifestation of that commitment. Mr. Speaker, by our commitment today, my government of the People's Partnership signals a most historic development in the administration of justice in independent Trinidad and Tobago.
Mrs. Prasad Bisasa is adding that ties to the Privy Council had developed complications, particularly in relation to the issue of the death penalty.
It is perhaps fitting this year, as we gear ourselves to celebrate what is essentially our golden anniversary of independence, that we take another step in the furtherance of our national sovereignty, now giving the Caribbean Court of Justice jurisdiction as our final court of appeal. At the recently concluded CARICOM Heads of Government conference in Suriname, this matter was raised in discussion with several CARICOM Heads of Government. On that occasion, I gave a commitment to our CARICOM partners that my government will review our approach to this matter on my return to Trinidad and Tobago to Port of Spain.
The Honourable Prime Minister says democracy has grown and it is time to take responsibility for the final adjudication of disputes that are parallel to the pristine principles of justice and fair play, and dismiss the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council as the final court of appeal. She notes that a special majority vote of Parliament will be required for the withdrawal from the criminal jurisdiction of the JCPC. The Honourable Prime Minister assures, however, that government will continue to supervise developments at both the JCPC and the CCJ. Verna Barth, News 4.
When we come back, the Commission of Inquiry Chairman responds to the announcement of the CCJ as TNT's final appellate court. Stay with us.
Hey, you ever wonder what it takes to become a lifeguard? Well, you must have at least a secondary school education. You must be fit and able to lift your own body weight or at least 100 pounds. And of course, you must be able to swim and pass an evaluation. Once you can do that, you then enter the 5-month training program where you will be taught self-survival skills, casualty recognition, rescue skills, first aid and CPR, and search and rescue patterns. Upon completion, you would then receive the Award of Merit, where you would then be absorbed into the 2-year on-the-job training program. There you would learn identifying currents, marking them with flags, report writing, assisting in rescues, administering oxygen to casualties, crowd management, and lifeguard communications. Everything's okay. Okay?
Welcome back. The Prime Minister's announcement did not escape the attention of the Commission of Inquiry looking into the events surrounding the July 1990 attempted coup. The Commission took note of the fact that its chairman, Sir David Simmons, played an integral role in seeing the Caribbean Court of Justice become a reality. John Victor has this report.
The involvement of Commission Chairman Sir David Simmons in laying the groundwork for the CCJ did not go unnoticed by lead counsel for the Commission, Avery Sinanan.
So that we join with your satisfaction, Mr. Chairman, and I suppose it will not be out of place for me to thank you for your hard work in the preparation of this, from laying the foundation to usher in finally what is clearly a further step in the question of sovereignty for the region.
And in perhaps what may be described as a strange twist of fate or sheer coincidence, the Commission's chairman now presides over an activity in the very building that houses what is said to become the Caribbean's premier judicial institution and the Trinidad and Tobago's final appellate court in at least criminal matters for the time being.
I'm 72 on Saturday, and I could not have got a more appropriate gift than the Honourable Prime Minister's announcement in Parliament yesterday that Trinidad was at last coming on board, if only partially at this stage. I'm sure the accession to the civil jurisdiction will come in due course. The Prime Minister made it clear that the procedure is one of gradualism and caution.
Sir David expressed the hope that other countries will embrace the CCJ as their final court of appeal. So
that I've had a lot to do with this court, and as I say, I feel very satisfied to see that not only has Trinidad and Tobago come on board, but I'm reasonably confident that Jamaica will follow suit. That will provide important throughput of cases for the court to work with, and even though the startup of the court has been, I suppose, slow, it has not been the slowest internationally. There have been others that are less active.
The Commission Chairman said the overarching reason for establishment of the Caribbean Court of Justice was to enhance the access to justice. Something he noted was of tremendous concern to the peoples of the region over the years following the attainment of independence of most of the former colonies. John Victor, News 4.
Trinidad cocoa, scorpion hot peppers, steel pan. What do these three things have in common? All indigenous to Trinidad and Tobago, and this is what the Ministry of Legal Affairs is looking to keep as ours as it looks to protect the nation's intellectual property. Kimberly Ramkalawan reports.
Intellectual property rights gives the authority to a person or organization to earn royalties from the use of ideas, product, or inventions. With this in mind, the government is looking to ensure that all indigenous materials to Trinidad and Tobago remain protected by its patent owners. Reports compiled by the Intellectual Property Office were presented on Wednesday to the Ministry of Legal Affairs. Permanent Secretary at the Ministry, Bernard Sylvester, said that much had been achieved since the appointment of the Intellectual Property Valuation Committee and commended the team for the work done.
There was great hope that the reports of the various committees would provide the blueprint for informing policy and IP for many years to come. Judging from the look of these reports, I can safely state that we have achieved the first crucial step in this objective. No stone was left unturned as these two committees appointed examine all aspects of the IP system, be it the patent system, trademarks, copyright and related rights, and new plant varieties.
In recent times, the question has arisen over the property rights pertaining to the G-Pan, as well as the now famous Scorpion Moruga hot peppers, something Mr. Sylvester said demanded urgency in addressing.
The valuation of intangible assets has never been addressed in a national policy framework, and it seems this is now urgent as government seeks to fully utilize what intangible assets it owns, and as an extension, the country as a whole. On the international front, there has been a rise in initial public offerings, high-profile mergers and acquisitions, coupled with a slew of litigation, which has catapulted intellectual property into an increasingly crucial position in the global economic environment.
He added that under the intellectual property laws, persons stood to receive rewards because of the protection of their assets.
Defining IP as an asset aims to provide it the same protective rights as physical property. An organization or government that owns IP can realize value from it in several ways, such as through utilizing it and using legal mechanisms through licenses to reap royalties.
The reports presented by the IP committees are said to contain findings that would seek to enhance the protection of intellectual rights that would lead to the further commercializing of local products. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
When we come back, the Minister of Education talks about filling teaching vacancies nationwide. Stay with us.
Honoring and respecting the elderly begins with you and me. And in the event of a disaster, your support before, during and after will be critical to their well-being. Build a support team where each member will have a specific task. Your team must include someone who is within easy reach of the elderly person. Make an evacuation plan and practice your plan. Stock up on special caregiving items such as incontinence items, cleaning and sanitizing supplies. Have on hand a minimum of 2 weeks supply of all essential medications. In the event of a disaster, accessing medication may become difficult. Keep testing and insulin supplies that do not require refrigeration for diabetics. Secure all medical supplies in a clean, waterproof, easy-to-carry container. Keep a list of medication, caregiving instruction, doctors' names, and contact information. In case an elderly person is relocated to a shelter, this information is vital to their continued care. Dehydration is a serious health problem for older adults. Store at least 1 gallon per person per day. Store at least 3 days worth. Consider special dietary needs when stocking up on food supplies. Safeguard important documents and provide an ID bracelet or necklace to persons with special needs, such as persons with Alzheimer's disease. Remember, disaster readiness and preparedness begins with you and me.
A message from the Ministry of National Security, Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management.
Welcome back. Swift steps are being taken to ensure that teaching staff vacancies across the nation's schools are filled. This as the Education Ministry looks to increase the number of centers that deal with special needs children. Kimberly Ramkalawan has the story.
Concerns are being raised over the number of teaching vacancies in the nation's schools. Education Minister Dr. Tim Gopi Singh said the matter had captured a great deal of his attention after disparities were noticed across the board and attributed it to the high level of bureaucracy that still existed on certain levels of the ministry, something he says he's trying to rid across all sections and divisions at the ministry under his watch.
Some of you would have seen my interview or read it this weekend. That's just 5% of the difficulties we faced within the ministry. Constrained by Teaching Service Commission, Public Service Commission. You can't do anything about your teachers, nor the principals, nor the supervisors. It goes to a tribunal, it takes 2 years. Nothing happens.
The issue has arisen as government looks at staffing the creation of new centres that would address the needs of special children. Minister Gopi Singh noted that he was looking into the issue carefully.
My cursory analysis includes 100 curriculum officers not appointed as yet, almost another 100 guidance counselors and school social workers not appointed as yet. That is just an example of where we can be utilizing these positions to improve the education system, and nobody does anything about it.
$400 million of the ministry's budget have been set aside for the salaries for vacant posts. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
Time for us to take a look at sport. Well, the public will be treated to some top-class professional and amateur boxing when the Trinidad and Tobago Boxing Board of Control hosts a boxing bonanza at Woodford Square in Port of Spain on Friday. We will also have a chance to see some of the nation's Olympic hopeful in action. Wayne Cunningham reports.
The Trinidad and Tobago Boxing Board of Control will host its first ever boxing bonanza this coming Friday at Woodford Square. Chairman of the board, Annabelle Davis, indicated that the event is part of an overall program, and she outlined the components.
The sporting components, but it mixes quite appropriately, we think, with the homework centers. So we want to have sport and academics as the way forward to treat with many concerns that we have as citizens over the last period of time, where we feel that the initiatives to treat with at-risk youths have not really had the effect that we would like to have, and we would like to have sport as part of that initiative in combination or combining with the Ministry of Education and Ministry of National Security.
The event will begin at 9 a.m. and end at 6 p.m. and will feature some of the nation's top fighters, including Kurt Sinnett, Rhea Ramnarine, and Kirsten Manswell, as well as local entertainers.
We will be hosting 2 professional fights, one with Kevin Diaz, and we're waiting confirmation, maybe Mr. Potts will assist with that, of the fighter that we're bringing in from Guyana. And the other is Princely Isidore and Revlon Lake. So those are 2 professional fights. They're carded for Woodford Square. And in addition to which, we will have our gyms there. We have Miss Shama Stroud, and we have one of our new boxers, Jarrell Noons, who is part of our New Faces of Boxing campaign, and we'll be having a number of sparring bouts, exhibition bouts. During the course of the day, we'll be having hand-pad exhibitions as well as skipping exhibitions.
Also making an appearance will be members of the Olympic qualification team, who will compete at the qualifiers in Brazil from May 4th to 13th. The Vice President of the Amateur Boxing Association, Reynold Cox, is confident the team will do well.
I think we are right where we're supposed to be at this time, taking into consideration the time we had to prepare. And what is very important for us in this tournament is really the mental toughness of the boxers as they get into the tournament, because there will be no easy fights, and all the countries in the region have been preparing very well for the tournament. So it's really how tough the boxers are mentally to take part in the tournament, because we had 2 teams back to back, and they went through the preparation of the fights, and I think some of them performed really well, some a little more than we expect them to perform, and we quite pleased.
The team recently faced top regional outfit Puerto Rico and came away with creditable results.
Well, having seen them against Puerto Rico, I feel encouraged that they can compete at this level. But again, it's a tough tournament, and I will come with the A game in the actual tournament. So,
Special advisor to the boxing board, Boxer Potts, donned his promoter hat and urged fans to come out to the square tomorrow.
Boxing in Woodford Square. Can you imagine that? Professional boxing in Woodford Square. 5 amateur bouts, real bouts. Trinidad and Tobago, come out and witness this boxing bonanza in Woodford Square on Friday. Real boxing matches.
Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
When we come back, the Indian High Commission recognizes Trinidad and Tobago for women's equal rights. Stay with us.
Civilian Conservation Corps, CCC, now recruiting candidates for its upcoming cycle. Join our training program, military-led, national in scope.
Environment conserving, disaster response training, flora and fauna preserving, and life skill training. If you want to do better, change your life over. Civilian Conservation Corps has opened doors. You like plumbing? You like welding?
Call us now at 625-4CCC. That's 625-4222. Or contact us at the CCC office in your region. For further information, check us out on Facebook. Search for Civilian Conservation Corps. The Civilian Conservation Corps, getting youth ready for life.
Trinidad and Tobago is being recognized by the Indian High Commission for allowing women equal opportunities. This from the wife of the Indian High Commissioner, who was speaking at a Women's Day celebration where the Minister in the Ministry of Gender, Youth and Child Development, the Honorable Ramona Ramdial, was among the attendees. Verna Barath has the story.
Speaking at a Women's Day celebration was Shri Garji Kaul Mishra, wife of Shri Mali Mishra, Indian High Commissioner to Trinidad and Tobago, who commended this country for allowing women equal opportunities. She also spoke of the progress of women in this country in comparison to the many hardships and limitations that women are subjected to in India. She adds that Trinidad and Tobago has a lot to be thankful for.
The degeneration of the treatment of the woman is mainly because of the men's teaching and the women accepting it. And Swami Vivekananda said that, unless you give women a good place in society, the society can't change. You can't expect a bird to fly with a single wing. So just as men have to rise, women also have to rise. And I would say in Trinidad, you are far better. It was heartening to see all the girls and the ladies here, young girls doing puja and knowing the mantras. It's a very heartening thing to see. And I must say that you should thank your stars. And you are very lucky that your ancestors migrated from that country and came to this country.
Shri Garji Kaul Mishra is also describing the many hardships facing the female population in India. She says even though laws have been passed to protect women, they are still forced to undergo certain harsh measures.
Despite over 60 years of independence, we still are a long way away from our independence. The Constitution of India provides equal status to women in every aspect, whether it's wages, job, everything. But we are still far away from getting that equal status in all respects, especially in the smaller towns and in the village. When a girl child is born today, a lot of parents are not happy. We even have the concept of doing an ultrasound in certain parts of the country. When the woman is expecting, people go in for ultrasound to find out it's a boy child or it's a girl child. And if it's a girl child, they abort the child.
The Indian High Commissioner's wife is strongly condemning these acts against women in India. She is also highlighting the success of women in the business sector.
The woman is the caregiver. And unless the women are there, where do the men come from? If you're going to kill all the women, who's going to produce the next generation? The ratio of women to men in India is falling over the years. We are 42% of the population today. We are in every field of every sphere of work, whether we had a first Prime Minister, Indira Gandhi, we have a President who is a woman, we have umpteen ladies heading big banks in India, all CEOs of the ICICI Bank, the Axis Bank, the HSBC Bank, they're all women.
Also speaking at the Women's Day celebrations was Minister in the Ministry of Gender, Youth and Child Development, Ramona Ramdial, who is also announcing plans by government to establish additional shelters for women in this country. Verna Barath, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of News 4, a product of the Government Information Services Limited. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.